Shout out Ani. She, she wanted me. Yeah, we don't have to do a full
No.
round.
Yours is
If your shoutouts are on the level of Ani, then go right ahead. Shout out.
Shout out Lizzie.
Oh, Lizzie. Shout out Leo and Jeremy. Hope you guys are watching.
Shout out LaCroix, no cap.
Quick shout out to Christina Applegate.
LaCroix, you're making this.
It's like a paid sponsorship. Third party.
We're look, I mean, look, we're new to the game. We need to listen.
It's a sponsor.
Wow.
It's the main focus, right, Vic?
Yeah, that's the main focus. Alright, wait, let
What I'm
me.
getting.
That's good, right? That's
Right, Vic?
yeah, that's the main focus. Alright, wait, let
What I'm
me.
getting.
How's the wine cooler?
It's still blue. One of life's greatest questions.
Make sure you put this in the video and distort it like crazy, okay?
I mean, I've been recording. Alright, that worked.
Wait, we had to listen to the album?
Oh no.
Getting into the video, we had the same setup except new backgrounds. We got paranormal activity in the bottom right, other paranormal activity, your rave club or something in the top right. We are reviewing Beat Happening by Beat Happening, self-titled first
ready?
release. Yeah, on K Records, founded by the lead singer, the male lead, Calvin something. K Records has, I'm doing a little bit of fun fact, a long history in the indie scene. Kurt Cobain had a K Record tattoo, and he played at, I think, a couple recording sessions for K Records. Beat Happening toured with Fugazi in the early 80s or the mid 80s. They were not welcome in the punk scene or whatever you want to call that scene. People threw ashtrays at them. Besides that, that's
They already
basically
suck, pretty much. We know that they suck off the bat.
Beat Happening. Very important record to me. Great indie record in my opinion. But we're gonna get into it. First time listening, what did you think about it?
Man, let's get into it, man. Y'all know what's
Kick
going
it
on.
off.
Alright, I'll kick it off here. So off the first listen, I was like frustrated because I wanted songs to be like, there was a lot of, how many tracks were there where it was just like a minute 20 or like a minute 30, especially, and the mixing I felt like was all over the place. That's something that I initially noticed as well. I was like, why is the mixing like so different on like so many songs? Off the first listen, I wasn't really a fan of it. I didn't get into it.
Yeah, I have to agree. Off the first listen, I really didn't like it. I agree with Carlos. The songs are really short and they felt like uninspired. The mixing was, I think there could have been a lot better in some songs. It just felt like, I felt like the musicianship wasn't the first listen was a rough one for me.
For me, I thought it had promise. Like it could grow on me. There was a lot of like cool ideas in there. What initially put me off was like the dry, like almost sarcastic delivery that the lead singer Calvin had. It was kind of just a little like dull and dreary. But I loved the female singer Heather Lewis. Her voice was actually pretty cool, I thought. Overall, I was like indifferent about it at first because a lot of the songs I was like, this is not my cup of tea. But then there were some songs that I did really enjoy.
So initially, I was in love with the Lou Reed, Jonathan Richman-esque vocals of the male lead. There were certain songs that were rough, but most of the songs I liked his delivery and the tone of his writing. I thought the female singer was just beautiful singer and had a lot of great writing. I don't know who wrote which songs. Whichever person wrote her songs, I think were focused and brought a lot of youthful energy. So I really liked it a lot on first listen. The first question I have is, what were your thoughts on the slower songs or the songs with little to no instrumentation? Because I think those were the most maybe egregious in terms of effort put into the songs. I think they still had things to offer, but I didn't think, obviously, there was less effort put into them. And we're talking about, of course, Christmas and Honey Pot, the two like zero guitar instrument. Okay, so what do you guys think?
Okay, so unlike last week, on my last week take, I think the song with the minimalist instrumentations are the worst ones on this track. They really emphasize the vocals, and when the vocals just don't hit right with me, it really just makes I can't even like listen to the whole song.
Oh, yeah, for me, I also thought that the ones with just vocals and drums were the worst. I thought the drums didn't sound good. I thought the singer's voice didn't really fit. Sometimes it felt like he was singing out of key with himself. A lot of times the vocals and drums would be out of time, which just like, I mean, me being a drummer and a musician just like, really pains me. I thought the subject matter of Christmas was kind of like some of the vocal lines, but the rest of it I really didn't like.
Damn.
Agreed.
I didn't like Christmas.
Tati, a lot of y'all was requesting this one. I'm gonna leave a link to the original video down
I'll
below.
put that out there. But I thought Honey Pot was cool. I liked like the lyrical flow to that one. But overall, when it is kind of stripped down, it wasn't. I enjoyed the guitar lick more than just singing in the drum, like alone.
Yeah, I thought that the guitar playing the most energetic and most fun parts, the track list, because it allowed them to bring a lot of youthful energy, teenage energy to the track. I don't think they were really meant to be anything more than a little poem they had in their book or something, and they're like, oh, I'll make it a song with like low effort in terms of thinking of licks or whatever. The next big question is, what was your thoughts on the mixing, the amateurish production, and the kind of disregard for traditional means of making a complete engineered song?
I think I don't, maybe it's just that I don't get why it was placed that, but a lot of the mixing was all over the place. I didn't really get why some songs were mixed really well, like Bad Seeds for an example, and then we have like these very open sounding, like a lot of like reverb and like Honey Pot or Christmas. I just didn't get it. I also wasn't a fan of it. It distracted me.
I mean, I have to agree with Carlos. I think, yeah, some of the songs were mixed well, like Bad Seeds. I think that was one of the better songs. And then some of them were just, I mean, again, like it felt like it was mixed at the same time that like The Who was recording Substitute. Like just, I don't know, it's just all over the place. And once I hear a song that's mixed well, I want all of them to be mixed well. You know, I don't want some of the songs to be mixed poorly. Even if it's intentional, I don't want it to sound like that because it kind of sounds bad. I mean, bad.
Everything you
Yes. Thank you so much for being on the show. You're welcome. How are you on this snowy Boise Monday? Wonderful here. It's springtime in Boise, and that means it's snowing. It's beautiful. Yes. I just bought this new coat at the thrift store on the way to Boise.
I don't think that sounds good.
Yeah, I mean the mixing was like mixed pot for me, like, and I didn't really like how they played out of time with each other.
And
Keep
that's
both
part
of the songs.
Maybe why I don't think I really got this album, and or maybe why it didn't connect with me. I just, some of the choices I don't really get, in my opinion. Like for example, the mixing or out of time going into time. It just didn't sit right with me.
It felt like they just kind of did it in one take and said, that's fine, we're just put on the album.
Yeah, I hate to like say this, or like I don't mean to discredit them, but it just seems really like half-assed.
So this is where we're gonna have to part ways in how we feel about the album. I think, well, one, clearly I read their wiki. They didn't have any money for anything. That's like one part of it. They don't have recording equipment. It's pretty much terrible in every song. Even other indie bands are probably doing it at the time. It's not the 60s, it's not the 50s, it's the 80s. So obviously they're way underproduced, which for me, I just honestly don't care. I think it's definitely underproduced. It's overly underproduced, but I don't think that matters in terms of, because what they get right is that it's this indie focused on this lyrical writing, less focused on the singing performance, less focused on the drumming performance. It basically comes down to simple, short songs that have a lot of youthful energy, a lot of maybe some nostalgia for a younger time in your life, and a lot of humor, in my opinion. It does hurt the album in songs like the Bad Seeds live. It's the only live performance, but actually any of the recorded songs could be considered live because they might as well not have been in a studio or whatever, wherever they were. So the one that was actually live, I wish was recorded better. That was one time where the recording and mixing, I mean, they probably didn't even master it. I don't know what they did to it, but it's basically all raw, unedited, and I think that's a breath of fresh air, for me at least, because I've never heard an album that has this little care for production, and I think what they get right, I think it fits perfectly with the aesthetic of the album, going all the way down to the cover. Cover completely tells the whole story of what the album's going to be like: youthful, energetic, fun, humorous, silly, goofy, kind of avoiding traditional thoughts of what is high art and what is the value of art. That's just what my thoughts were on the mixing and the general tone and aesthetic of the album.
So do you think that like the whole album should have been mixed a certain like a one way, or is it just whatever they had at the time, like whatever mic, whatever drums they had, or
I just think it's interesting that they had redos of some of the songs that were some of the better songs, like Run Down the Stairs, Bad Seeds were some of the more pointed, focused in terms of lyrical writing, and the licks were catchy too. Maybe a little bit more consistent, but I think it was just interesting that they had multiple recordings of songs, and they had, maybe songs they were like, all right, let me just throw this in, like Christmas, Honey Pot, the Bad Seeds live. Like it didn't, I don't know, it was interesting because it didn't really have to be there, but in a lot of ways it does. It's like looking into high schoolers' poetry notebook, and some things got more care than others. Some things got edited. Some things they just don't care about. Some things they ripped up and played out of time and whatever. I mean, I don't know. I think that's just the whole aesthetic, and I think it's charming in a lot of ways.
I mean, I'm still a little like lost on why they would record songs multiple times and put multiple cuts on the same album. I mean, you said they had no money, but they had enough money to record these songs multiple times and put the same track on the album, like, different cuts.
Well, they originally released it and it was only 12 songs and it was 23 minutes, and then they released it. Like they reissued it, I think.
Because there's no 12 song thing on any streaming. I don't think.
they re-released it in 1996.
Okay.
So this is the re-release.
That makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
Well, I guess this is sort
And
of
it
a
was
deluxe
double the
edition
length.
then. The 12
Yeah.
last tracks is like
Yeah.
deluxe. I don't.
Yeah,
I think it
so
makes
there's-
sense. I don't know. I think it makes sense as an original project. It just.
I mean, like the first cut of Run Down the Stairs, right? Right, the beginning is a total mess. I'll keep harping on that. The next cut, the beginning is not a mess. It sounds great. Why would they, if it was one take, one album, why wouldn't they cut the bad one and just use the good one?
I mean, it's just the whole aesthetic they're going for. It's just like they're disregarding what it means to be an indie album or what it means to be a rock album. I mean,
then why would they record it twice?
Don't know. I mean,
I
think it's just
their
it's just the
artistic
aesthetic
choice and like their whole journey of that. It's more like a time album, like where they went over like a couple. I don't know how many years recorded, but whatever they recorded, it doesn't sound like an album where they had any cut. So it was just whatever they recorded at the time they kind of threw in.
Yeah, so talk about the musicianship quality of the riffs or the drums, or basically, did you think that they were catchy enough to hold your attention in songs like Our Secret, What's Important, or were the poor timing or poor mixing too much, or were the riffs just not interesting enough to hold your attention? What did you feel about the...
I think it's more of like if you understand it and you kind of acknowledge that this is how the album is going to be, you're going to enjoy it and like it more than... I like some ideas. Overall, I was not a fan of most of the musical composition, or the instrumentation either.
You didn't like any of them?
Well, the like remixed one, like Bad Seeds. I think there was like a three song thread. It's Bad Seed or Foggy Eyes, Bad Seeds, and I Let Him Get to Me, which those were my favorites because they were mixed the best, and I could actually.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with Carlos. My biggest thing is I felt like the guitar and drums lacked a lot of... I think there was a similar style that the guitar riffs followed. Most of the songs, they picked like 2 or 3 chords and they played like a simple strumming pattern. They kind of held that for most of the song. And the drums kind of played like the same little beat for most of the song, for just about every song. And some songs it worked well. Like I agree, Bad Seeds I thought was really good. That was a bit of a change. They didn't do the same formula and it worked really well. Maybe like Down at the Sea is a little more upbeat. They picked better chords, or like Run Down the Stairs. But I think a lot of the songs, just there wasn't enough creativity or variety.
It was pretty 50-50 for me. I thought like I could get past a lot of the out of time playing. It was only, I don't know, it didn't really affect me that much. But when I got past it, I could definitely appreciate a lot of the riffs. Like I think Youth was one of my favorite songs. Like you guys said, Bad Seeds, I appreciated that one too. It was 50-50, I would say.
I thought that there were certain songs that had a lot of G and a lot of... I thought Our Secret, like the drumming on that, I thought was tight and fun. It wasn't complicated, but I think that was catchy enough to hold my attention. And I think the riff on Our Secret was great. What's Important had a great riff. I really loved the song Youth, had some great little strumming, and I thought it was great, laid back, maybe Lou Reedian approach to instrumentation, I think. But I think besides that, the Out of Time, just personally, I didn't care. I think it fit in what they were doing with the album, with the mixing, with the singing, with the delivery. I think it all made sense to me. Those are my thoughts on the instrumentation. Next, I wanted to talk about the vocal delivery, whether the male male lead. I don't think you could say that Heather was trying to go for any special approach where she didn't really try, or she tried to have like, atonal delivery like Calvin did. How did you guys feel about Calvin versus Heather, or do you even think Heather was good on the songs she did? Or
I liked Heather more than I did Calvin. You said his name.
Records in my.
She seemed to bring better and more interesting melodies on all the tracks, while Calvin was more sarcastic, like Scott said. Just didn't really. I'm gonna keep on saying this, but so I think this album, like in entirety, is just it just misses for me.
Yeah, I think Carlos and I are on the same page for a lot of this stuff. I thought I thought she was pretty good. She, like Carlos said, had a lot of nice melodies. I thought she had brought a lot more life to the vocal lines. She was more energetic. I thought Calvin's lines, he seemed kind of emotionless in some of them, and like flat. The ones where it was just him and the drums twice. I definitely preferred Heather to Calvin for sure.
Yeah, I thought she brought like more like bright energy to the songs that she was on, Heather. I did like one of Calvin's songs, and it was "I Love You." I really liked that one. But besides that,
which one was that?
He's
yeah,
like,
can't remember.
give me that or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's a little funny.
But it was just on like the more like emotion-driven songs. I just couldn't get behind when he was the one singing them.
What were your favorite parts, or favorite cuts, or favorite sections?
Carlos got none.
My favorite tracks were the Bad Seeds, not the live version, the mixed one, and Foggy Eyes as well. Those two are my favorite. I think all their ideas kind of meshed together.
I also liked Bad Seeds. I did also like the live version of Bad Seeds. I thought it was kind of cool to hear like a real recording. I mean, I know there's a million live versions of every song you want, but it was cool to like hear a real thing. It just felt like I could almost put myself in the venue with them and imagine watching them play. It was Foggy Eyes. I liked Down at the Sea. That one I thought was.
My top ones are gonna be Bad Seeds, then I Love You, and definitely Youth is in there as well. And then Don't Mix the Colors, just for that extra last ambient section with the grocery store, because that hit.
My favorites was Our Secret and What's Important. I think that What's Important had the best riff on the whole thing, and a great performance from Heather. Yeah, I think we can go into concluding thoughts / score.
Okay, I'll go first. Jesus Christ.
Set the bar.
This was a hard review for me, because it's just an album that just doesn't hit with me. Like, I feel like you either get it or you don't. I don't know, maybe Scott, you said you're like 50-50. I don't know, maybe you could chime in on that. But to me, it just didn't click with me at all. The mixing, the vocal passages, the melodies, the riff sounded very lackadaisical, and whether that be the vibe and aesthetic they go for, we're going to be as subjective as we can on here, and it just didn't click with me. So I'm going to give this a...
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
I mean, I kind of have to agree. This album was also a miss for me. I think for me, when I listen to music, I try to find music that has really well produced instrumental. I mean, Victor, you talked a lot about like the subject of the lyrics and the writing, and for me to get to that stuff, I need really solid like instrumentals, and I felt like this album just didn't deliver on that. I mean, I felt like there wasn't enough variety in the drums and some of the riffs. I don't know, I think this album just wasn't the right one for me, just not the right style. I think I'll have to give it like maybe a 3.5.
2.
For me, like I said before, it was very hit or miss. Like I definitely, a lot of them I saw the intent behind them, and like Don't Mix the Colors, the first time I listened to it, like I was kind of going through like, oh, I don't really like, as I re-listened to it and like saw the meaning of the lyrics, and I began to realize like the story that was being told, it started to connect with me a little more. So like songs like that ended up being one of my favorite songs. And Youth, I thought that was really cool. There were a lot of things that I enjoyed about this album, but on the other hand, there was a lot of things that I really didn't like the Playing Out of Time, and just some of those like stripped back, just like monotone singing. So it was tough. I'm gonna give it a 4.2
out of 10.
Well, I guess we already established that there's a gap between what we thought and what we thought.
The ascending score is in order.
So it was certainly an above average album in terms of how genuine it was, how passionate they were, how charming and how original they were in songwriting, which I think is the strongest, the lyrical, and the soul. I thought it was completely genuine. What you see is what you get, but there's more than there's more in what you see than what you initially think what you see is what you get. I'm gonna have to give it 8.2
out of 10.
So yeah, that's our thoughts on the album. Oh wait, there's one more thing.
I like the
album.
seemed like childish, kind of whimsical.
Yeah, I liked it. It's gonna get a 9 on the
Album. I love the album.
I actually really like the
Album.
very plain.
The album.
Scott, you got some fun facts for us or what?
Okay, so what happened was I misread it. So there's the 9 bonus tracks that they added on for the re-release was from a homemade self-produced project from Tokyo that they self-released in 1984.